Welcome, everyone. We want to thank you all for attending this wonderful 15th anniversary of the founding of the Barbara McDowell Social Justice Center. To begin with, I want to thank all those who made this incredible event possible. Our staff, our board of directors, and especially our development director, Wendy Sloan. Wendy? We are here tonight to honor our champions of justice, Seth Waxman and Billy O'Reilly, to congratulate and introduce our 2026 grantees, and to listen to the conversation between Terry Moran and Congressman Raskin. We are thrilled that you're here to share all this with us and the amazing progress that the center has made over the last 15 years. We began very small, with big dreams 15 years ago, with the untimely death of my late wife, Barbara McDowell, from brain cancer at age 56. That same cancer struck down Ted Kennedy, Joe Biden's son, Beau Biden, and John McCain, and Gary Carter, who was the Mets catcher and Hall of Famer who died at age 57. I mentioned baseball because Barbara and I, on our first date, discussed our mutual love for baseball. We later had season tickets for the Nats for several years until Barbara became ill. We discussed more than baseball on that first date. We discussed what formed us as persons. We discovered that during the afternoon's picnic on the lawn outside GW Law School, our passion for fighting for social justice. I told Barbara about my time in the Civil Rights Division, where I argued and tried cases for 4 years in Mississippi and Alabama. Barbara shared her pro bono work at Jones Day, her heading to Shaw Community Board working to alleviate the effects of poverty in that area of DC, and her political activism, including working on the McGovern campaign in California and serving as an aide to Senator Cranston. All that formed the framework for our relationship for the rest of our lives. When Barbara tragically died, I swore that I would not let this horrible disease of glioblastoma destroy 2 people and 2 lives. I formed the Barbara McDowell Foundation with the assistance of my law firm, Drinker Biddle, to commemorate Barbara's past work and memorialize her life. We did start small. That first year in 2010, we made grants of totaling $25,000. That level has grown geometrically. Our grants to date have now reached close to $2 million, some 80 grants to 55 different organizations in 35 states, in 15 areas of the law encompassing social justice. My aim then in 2010 was to multiply our efforts, not focusing on a single case or issue, but to accomplish a wide array of benefits to assist and flow to the underserved and underrepresented and poor in our country. We did more than make grants starting then. We brought some 20 high-impact cases under the auspices of my law firm, having remarkable results. You can read about those results in the special report that's available to everyone here tonight. But I had dreamed back then in 2010 to do even more. Those dreams are now beginning to be fulfilled with the creation of our newly formed Barbara McDowell Social Justice Center, which is bringing its own litigation. 2 cases have been filed already, and 1 already is successfully completed with the award of attorney fees in Montana. And they are both discussed in that special report as well. We've also, in addition to doing our own litigation, initiated our efforts to educate young adults about civil rights. We formed a partnership with the New York Junior Tennis League to conduct workshops on social justice for teenagers in New York. Barbara did that similarly when she was at Jones Day by going into the schools in D.C. and talking about civil rights. And that was what motivated me and gave me the thought that we should do that as well. And we've also engaged in advocacy efforts and to support civil rights issues. And that's demonstrated by our filing of comments for the proposed Trump administration's agency rules to decimate the federal public service loan program. And that allows which allows individuals to work for civil rights organizations free from debt and from the debts of their education. These tripart efforts, education, advocacy, and litigation, are captured in the 3 pillars of our new logo, which you might have seen. And Barbara believed passionately, and we believe that that's what we should be doing. And the motto of our organization, as you'll see on that, underneath that logo, is fighting injustices, catalyzing change. That is our mission. And we are here today to share that mission with you, and we are so glad that you have come. I'll be back at the end of the program to tell you about what we're planning for the future. But right now, let me introduce Don Ayer. Who's Don? Come right up, please. And Don was a partner of Barbara's at Jones Day, and he was a partner there for 29 years and had a long career in the Justice Department. He was an assistant United States attorney. He was the United States attorney for the Eastern District of California. He was the principal Solicitor General and Deputy Attorney General. Don has seen it all. And Don is now going to introduce our awardees this evening for our Champions of Justice. Don, thank you.
Thank you. It's great for me to be back here. I retired a few years ago and off and on been here, but not much. So I'm very happy to be here and be able to talk with you all. I was told I could take a few minutes though before I present these awards, which I'm told are right in front of me, which they are, to talk about Barbara. Because Barbara, our times at the firm intersected in the following way. She started at Jones Day just about 37 years ago, at the end of this month. She started in late 1988. The path that led her here was an interesting one, and I think it says something about a person who's got in mind what she is hoping to accomplish in her life, and if the first go at it isn't exactly or precisely or sufficiently what she's got in mind, she'll fall back and regroup. Barbara got a degree, an undergraduate degree in journalism, and she went to work out of college for the United Feature Syndicate. The United Feature Syndicate, I had to look it up to understand what it was, because it's now been merged into some other things. The United Feature Syndicate was a very large syndicate that really pioneered the path of investigative journalism. And when Barbara was there, it did in fact engage in that. Some of the people before many of your births probably, but Drew Pearson was one of their people. They go back to like the 30s. A bunch of people who you would have heard of. And also, they also syndicated the Peanuts comic strip. So it's a big organization, and she worked for them for about 7 years. And for whatever set of reasons, she decided that wasn't going to be her permanent thing in life, and so she decided to go to law school. So where does she go? She goes to Yale Law School, does exceedingly well, ends up with 3 clerkships, the last of which was for Justice White, and then moves on to a career in law. When I arrived at Jones Day, so she arrived in October of '88, and I arrived coming out of the Solicitor General's office. I actually had the job for a while of being the new head of the to-be-created Issues and Appeals section. There was no such thing when Barbara arrived, and there really wasn't any such thing when I arrived either. But the concept was there, and Pat McCartan is the person who formulated the concept and the terminology, and I think it's fair to say that that concept is the concept that most appellate practices and most law firms are now pursuing. It isn't just an appellate practice. It's a practice that has lawyers involved in strategy, motions, legal analysis, but ultimately goes beyond that to the application to the facts. And so Issues and Appeals lawyers at Jones Day and at most other firms are very much involved in trial work. They're very much involved in appeals, obviously, and that was what Barbara came here to do. Well, when I first got here, a couple things I want to say. One is Barbara was very busy. Barbara had already, in the few months, I guess I got here probably in March of 89, Barbara was already really absorbed and quite busy in the main work of the firm for larger clients of the firm. She was engaged in work for Northrop. She came to be engaged in work for R.J. Reynolds. She was engaged in lots and lots of the major work of the firm. And the second thing I want to say about when I first met her is that the one thing that struck me at that time about Barbara, and anyone who knew her, I think will agree with this, Barbara had always on her face the biggest smile that you ever saw. And it was really quite a remarkable thing that someone could be that positive in their outlook, at least the way they presented themselves all the time. And it was something I think that served Barbara very well, but it wasn't a phony thing. It was very much Barbara and the way she was. Part of the work she was doing within the first few years of coming to the firm was work in Dallas. There were some major matters in Dallas, and Dallas had a particular cadre of lawyers with a certain esprit de corps. Chet Hinshaw was the head of the office, and he was involved in a lot of the litigation. And Barbara was working. I talked with Bob Klonoff, who was involved in a lot of that stuff too. Bob's now out in Portland as a law professor. And Barbara, in doing that work, not only wanted to be involved in the trial work, which these were all trial cases, but she also wanted to, as she put it to Bob, get her hands dirty. She wanted to get in and take depositions and sort of mix it up with people. She didn't want to be limited to the sort of legal analysis and legal theory and stuff like that. And Bob related to me the other day on the phone how the way Barbara, and this was true, I think, of her work here as well and other places, she really got into the swing and the enthusiasm of the work that was being done. And as Bob put it, people in the office, after they heard what she'd been doing in some of these depositions, started talking about how Barbara was kicking ass in these depositions and really getting into it, while being someone whose main claim to fame, at least, had been writing, thinking, analysis, that sort of thing. But Barbara wasn't satisfied just to be doing that. I guess what I'm trying to communicate is that Barbara, as far as I could tell from my own dealings with her, was really dearly loved by the people at Jones Day with whom she worked closely and people who got to know her. Part of why is that she went out of her way. Number one, she was modest in the way she presented herself. Number two, she went out of her way to help other people. She was a terrific mentor of other lawyers in terms of, she'd often be in the position of reviewing their work, and she would sit down and explain what needed to be done and then maybe how it could be made better, but never in a way that lorded it over people. She also, and I think individuals probably will remember, if they knew her very well, instances where she would go out of her way to help other people, and not in a way that made some spectacle out of the fact that she was doing it. I have my own stories about it, of ways she was in one organization that I was involved in, and I'm pretty darn sure that Barbara was part of the reason I ended up getting chosen to do something, because she was in a position to do it, and I don't know why else I would have gotten the chance to do it. So I think about things like that with Barbara. She also, when she left the office, she left cases for people. She left what would have been her first Supreme Court argument. She left that case for me, and she left some appellate cases for other people that she had worked up. So she really was someone that, if you got to know her, there was a really positive feeling that she was part of the team and wanted to be as helpful to people as she could, even though, generally speaking, she was somewhat ahead of most people in terms of thinking things through, and really just an awfully brilliant and capable person. Barbara, for those of you who didn't know her, Barbara had a lot of style. She was a pretty sharp dresser. She had a proclivity toward high heels, at least in the years when she was at Jones Day. There are people at Jones Day today, I won't mention any names, but her hairdo was an evolving phenomenon. And there are people at Jones Day who, in the early days, and some of them are still here and some of them are in positions of pretty significant authority, referred to her as Spike because of the particular hairdo that she was wearing. But Barbara took all of that in good nature and was, as I say, really loved and appreciated by everyone. She left the office in 1997, in August of 1997, to go to the Solicitor General's office. Our first honoree tonight actually is the one who hired her away from Jones Day. 3 of her first 4 arguments, I should say one other thing before I move on to this, and that is the other part of Barbara's work here, which was a huge part of her work, was the pro bono work that she did. And she was engaged in a broad array of it. A lot of it was with legal aid, with whom she ultimately ended up working later in her life. But a lot of it was other things, immigration and that sort of thing. I had one case with her in the Supreme Court, a case called Florida versus Bostick, where the issue was a fellow on a bus who got confronted by police officers and essentially, we think, we lost, but we think involuntarily consented to have the bag searched. But it went to the Supreme Court, and Barbara was a marvelous colleague, and with me and Bob Klonoff on that brief. So she did a whole lot of pro bono work along with all of the other work that she did. In the SG's office, there really were some very distinguished and distinctive things that she did. One of them was that the first three of the first 4 arguments that she argued there on behalf of the United States were cases where the United States was arguing in support of tribes, in support of Native American nations on various cases. One of them was a very significant one I know that Seth was personally involved in. She also had 2 oral arguments on one day. On December 5th, 2001, she had 2 oral arguments on the same day. And also, she had a case against John Roberts, and she won. Back before John Roberts got on the... Unfortunately, I have to say that Jones Day had a client on the same side of the case as John Roberts, so she also beat us. But I guess we can live with that. I guess the most memorable thing about Barbara's departure from the office, and there are many people who can tell this story, I think, was her departure and the party that was had. Tim Dyke was then the head of the Issues and Appeals practice at their house, Sally Katzen and Tim Dyke's house, and Barbara showed up beautifully dressed, high heels, everything looking just perfect and great, and she fell in the pool. It was out in the backyard. It was lovely. And all of a sudden, Barbara was standing there looking great, and then bingo, she was in the pool. She was completely submerged in the pool. So she got out, went inside. Sally is not the same size as Barbara was, so she ended up wearing a larger dress that Sally had. And the thing I remember then as before was the great big smile that was still there on Barbara's face. And that's kind of the thing that will stick in my mind about Barbara, was that she had real goals. She was determined to pursue them. She obviously did. This organization is the living embodiment of what she stood for, and she made it happen in a very meaningful way. And I think that's something that we can all remember very fondly and feel good about. So that's my thoughts about Barbara, who I think really was a magnificent person. So there are two awards I want to give, the Champion of Justice Award, the two of them this year that the foundation is giving. The criterion for it are essentially that, in terms of achievements, the nominee made significant contributions to social justice litigation as evidenced by one or more of the following: litigating or leading landmark cases that have advanced the rights of marginalized and underrepresented groups, developing new legal theories or strategies that have had a significant impact on social justice, advocating for social justice through public interest law, legal education, or other channels, and then impact. The nominee's work had a significant impact on the lives of marginalized or underrepresented groups. The impact may be measured in terms of number of people who have been helped, the scope of the legal changes achieved, or the broad social change that has been inspired. So first, I want to read the citation that the foundation has prepared with regard to Seth. 2025 Champion for Justice Award recipient Seth Waxman, former United States Solicitor General. We honor Seth Waxman, one of our nation's most distinguished Supreme Court and appellate advocates. A graduate of Harvard University and Yale Law School, Seth has argued more than 85 cases before the U.S. Supreme Court and is widely regarded as among the very finest advocates of our time. He served as Solicitor General of the United States from 1997 to 2001, where he led the government's representation in critical constitutional cases. During that time, Barbara McDowell worked alongside him in the Solicitor General's office, and they shared a passion for justice, particularly for Native American rights. One of Barbara's proudest cases, the 1999 decision in Minnesota v. Mille Lac Band of Chippewa Indians, was a case in which Seth, as Solicitor General, stood with her to defend treaty rights guaranteed to the tribe more than 100 years earlier. Seth's career has been defined not only by professional excellence, but also by a deep commitment to justice. His victories have secured habeas rights for detainees at Guantanamo Bay, abolished the death penalty for juveniles in Roper v. Simmons, defended the constitutionality of campaign finance reform in McConnell v. FEC, and defended election integrity after the 2020 presidential election. In addition to his appellate leadership at WilmerHale, he is a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers and continues to shape the law through advocacy, teaching, and mentorship. For his unmatched contributions to the law and his shared dedication to the ideals Barbara championed, it is our privilege to present Seth Waxman with the Champion of Justice Award.
Thank you.
You bet.
I would like to start off by noting my appreciation not only for Barbara personally, who I now know that I have to thank Don, who has been an inspiration for me for a good part of my professional career and a partner in a number of efforts to achieve a modicum of social justice. I now have to thank Don for, I think, probably goosing Barbara to apply to work as an assistant in the Solicitor General's office. I was Solicitor General. I couldn't believe that Barbara McDowell, who was, a distinguished partner at Jones Day, wanted to come work as a line lawyer with me, but there was no need to ponder her application when she applied, and Barbara was just a wonderful, wonderful colleague during the years that we worked together. I also want to express my appreciation to and for everything that Jerry Hartman has done in Barbara's memory to essentially to create this, what we call the foundation, but is now the Social Justice Center, essentially in Barbara's image. I mean, the work that this center does is where her life was very definitely aiming and to which it was devoted when she was so tragically taken from us at such a young age. And honestly, the work of this center and its predecessor institutions, even as Jerry said, starting small, has been really profound, and it's been an honor to be associated with this, both because of the work that it does and in preserving Barbara's ideals and her memory. So thank you very much.
As you recall, we had 2 of these to give. And I'm happy now to present the second Champion of Justice Award for this year to Billy O'Reilly. And I'll read the citation that you all have prepared. Billy retired from the partnership at Jones Day Law Firm in 2019. He was in the business and tort litigation practice with a focus on antitrust, class actions, consumer protection, and other complex litigation. After 20 years at Jones Day, including practicing with Barbara McDowell during her time at the firm, Bill left to serve from 2006 to 2008 as the chief counsel and staff director for the Ethics Committee of the United States House of Representatives. After returning to the firm, Bill continued an active commercial litigation practice as well as substantial pro bono practice, including the supervision of police misconduct cases brought by the firm in which the team achieved significant results at trial and through settlement. He also was deeply involved in the firm's pro bono work at the Texas-Mexican border, which included providing migrants with both general legal advice and representation. He has continued that work since his retirement, including, I think, right up to the present. Bill is a 1980 graduate of the University of Virginia and a 1986 graduate of the University of Virginia Law School, where he was a member of the Law Review. He's a former member of the board of the Washington Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights and Urban Affairs. Bill was recently named to the Virginia Access to Justice Commission, was named to the Virginia Access to Justice Commission 2025 Pro Bono Service Honor Roll for his pro bono service contributions in 2023 and 2024. So, Bill, happy to present this to you.
That's a very tough act to follow, so I won't try. I just really want to thank Don for those kind words. I want to thank the Social Justice Center, Jerry in particular. I've known Jerry for a long time. I knew Barbara at the firm. I was one of the people who called her Spike. I don't think I came up with the nickname, but she appreciated it. And I knew Jerry in the neighborhood, and I knew he talked about the foundation that he had established for Barbara. And then at some point, shortly after I retired, he reached out to me again and talked about his vision for extending the work and expanding the work of the group. And Peggy Zwisler had joined the board, and I knew Peggy from some cases we had worked on together. And I thought it was a terrific opportunity, and so I've been happy to do that. And I'm honored that the group has honored me with this. I did not nominate myself. I didn't vote for myself. This was completely up to them. But I do want to thank you for this honor. I want to thank my family. There's a whole bunch of my family here because we can't do any of this kind of work without family. Susan, I don't know what you thought I was going to do when I retired. I'll get to that eventually, but right now I'm hoping to continue to do a lot of this. And importantly, I want to thank the firm. Jones Day was home to me for, I started 39 years ago this week. And it was in the old building, and I remember sitting there for a couple of days orientation with a bunch of people I didn't know. I'd interviewed with Tim Cullen, who's sitting here in the front row, and Mary Ellen, I don't think I interviewed with you. Did I interview with you? I knew you back then, but I came and it was my home my professional home for most of those 39 years. And the firm taught me how to be a lawyer, how to be a good lawyer, And the firm, I remember from the very beginning that two of the things the firm really emphasized, and one was pro bono clients are firm clients. And so from the beginning, every case I've ever worked on, I never lacked for support of the firm for anything that we needed to do to support those cases, ever. Personnel, experts, deposition fees, nothing. Every case was litigated as though it was a firm client with everything that was at stake. And the second thing is the emphasis on following the rule of law. And we heard some of that from these folks a minute ago. But Don mentioned the work on the border. That's a rule of law project. We are on the border. The firm has a project on the border. I've been down there close to 30 times for 30 different weeks over the years to try to help folks who are trying to come into the United States following the rule of law, following our asylum rules, following our immigration laws, trying to help those people. It's a firm project. The firm has made a huge commitment to it. And it's enabled me to really have such a great experience in what ostensibly is my retirement. So thank you to all of those people I just mentioned. It's really been a great experience, and I hope to earn this, continue to earn this in the future. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Maria Imperial, and I have the honor of serving as the Vice President of the Barbara McDowell Social Justice Center. And tonight is actually my anniversary. I know Billy was talking about his anniversary here of 1 year with the organization, and I'm thrilled and feel very privileged to be part of this. I'm also proud to introduce the 4 newest grantees, organizations that embody Barbara's belief in using the law as a powerful force for justice. This year, we received over 100 letters of intent. It's the most that we've ever received. And I think it's a reflection of the fact of how needed our support is, especially during these challenging times. Each grantee is tackling urgent inequities in our society, from protecting the rights of asylum seekers, ensuring access to legal representation for unaccompanied children at the border, to challenging racial discrimination and protecting voting rights. Their work reflects the courage, commitment, and compassion that define Barbara's legacy, and we are honored to partner with them. The 2026 Barbara McDowell Social Justice Center grantees are, if you're here, you could just stand up, the Amica Center for Immigrant Rights, the Center for Gender and Refugee Studies, Julian, and the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under the Law. Let's give them a round of applause. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jerry for final remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I am hobbling because I'm going to have double knee surgery in about a week, so I am made sure that I can come to the program under that circumstances. Anyway, it was wonderful to hear all about the work of the foundation, the history of Barbara, and so on. And there's a lot that we could share in great detail about what we've been doing. But I want to thank you all for coming to this 15th anniversary program. And I hope you will agree with me that it was a wonderful and exciting event. And we thank Terry Moran and Congressman Raskin for their excellent presentation. We also congratulate our grantees and our champions of justice, Seth Waxman and Billy O'Reilly. You will note that there was available a special report. In that report, it set out what our goals are for the next 15 years. Hopefully, we will attain them with your help. One of our ambitious goals for 2026 is to hire our own attorneys, 3 in number and a paralegal, to do our own litigation. That has been my long-standing hope for the center. We further ask that if you have a case that you would want to refer to us or an issue that you're aware of that would be within the Center's ambit, please do so. And having said all that, you would not be surprised if we were not asking for your financial support. We can't do all this unless we get that support to accomplish our goals. And one of the things that I've really wanted to do for so long at the center was to set forth our voice on social justice issues. And we will be inaugurating a new program called Our Voice, where we will give our views about social justice issues. And in conjunction with that, we hope to have our own podcast soon. And finally, what's probably should be, again, an ambitious goal for us, and you would not be surprised, we want to have a West Coast presence. And we are planning in 2026 to do exactly that, to help with our litigation. We've accomplished much, but we need your assistance. This isn't an easy task to do, running a foundation like this that has such ambitious goals. And so we thank you again for coming and for supporting our efforts. And we hope you have the rest of the evening is very welcome and good night. Thank you very much.